Heidi ho, my crafty friends. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. So it has been a busy week so far, so I thought I would get into the craft room and relax a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is I have this old piece of mixed media. Let me adjust you here. That I have been wanting to duplicate in my journal. And how we're going to do that is I've scaled it down to fit into this journal. So I took a piece of well, let me get that out of the way here. So I took a piece of watercolor paper and I cut it down just a little bit bigger than my pages because I'm gonna trim it. And then I decoupaged on it all different types of torn paper, as you can see in the background. And then I covered over it with a plain piece of, I guess I didn't have any left, a plain piece of, you know when you separate the backing of a napkin or tissue paper, just plain tissue paper. That was coffee dyed. I coffee dyed it, and I just laid it over the top of it. And then on top of that, I sealed everything in with my matte medium. And it took about 2 days for everything to dry because it was really wet. But I knew that my watercolor paper could handle it. That's why I chose it. Don't try to do this just on regular coffee dyed paper because your paper may not be able to handle it. So after 2 days of drying, then I trimmed off what was left of the tissue paper. Let me show you here. I still have it. It's the backing of, you can use the backing of a napkin, or I used, there's not much left of it. I used just plain old tissue paper, you know, wrapping paper that I coffee dyed. And I've told you all how I coffee dyed. See, it's just coffee dyed. And it doesn't coffee dye dark, which, you know, I didn't want it dark. And I just laid it right over the top of it and then sealed it in. And then I let it dry. And then this morning, I took my watercolors and I just kind of made them really wet. And I put some orange and some teals on the edges, which made it wet again. And I had to let it dry before we could do this. So there's a lot of different layers that go into this. So again, we're going to make it wet. Except this time, we're going to use some inks and some oxides. And I have no idea how I did this, how I did the background. I can see that I used some stencils. I did some free drawing. Here's a piece of a doily, some book pages. But I really don't remember much of how I did there. There's some stamps I think I used. I just know... See, and it was on back of a canvas, but I really don't remember much of how I created the background because it was a long time ago. It was about 4.5 years ago. So we're just going to have fun and we're just going to add some color to this background. So the first color that I want to use is, no, I think I want to go with this mustard, and it's an oxide. No, actually, I'm going to try this antique linen, and it's an ink. Maybe if I can get it open. There we go. And I want to take this, and it's really light. It's really light. Now, inks for me are hard, but I have seen them used. So I'm taking a smaller pen. I'm getting it a little wet, and I'm just adding it over some of these pages just for a different color. And you have to really be quick when you're using inks. You have to really be quick with them, because they dry really, really fast. And this is really pale, so I know you guys can't see it. I can. And when it dries, you might be able to. And it is starting to dry. Okay, so I'm going to wipe that off of my cube there. And then the next one that I want to use is maybe some tea dye. No, I don't think I do. You know what? I'm gonna back out of the tea dye, because tea dye is pretty much the color of the whole thing. So I think I want to use maybe some Rusty Hinge. Let's add a little bit of fall color to it. Oh yeah, that's really going to show up. So we're going to add a little bit of that. So between that and the wild honey that's coming up, and I'm just using a little paintbrush. And you guys know, normally I just make it really, really wet and spread it all the way around my cube. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just spreading it all over my cube. And you guys know what's coming up. I know you do. But I want it all over. Come on, spread out here. I'm just going to smack it right down in the middle of it. Because I want to just get some good nice good bloops of color on there. Just like that. And I think I'm going to grab a piece of paper here behind me and put the rest of that on a piece of paper. Actually, I'm going to do it. I need to wipe my fingers off, though. I need to clean my brush off, though, a little bit better. I'm going to take that in my book, because this needs to dry. So I'm going to grab a page here in my book. And I'm going to do the rest of it on a page in the book. But I need to wipe this off. And we're going to turn this way. And we're going to get my hair out of there. I got my hair trimmed yesterday, and it has just been going everywhere. Okay, so there's a little bit of that on there. Come here, you. So I'm going to leave what's left on there. And now we're going to add. So we're going to leave this page open. But I need to dry this before I add the next color. The wild honey. So we've used the Rusty Hinge. The next color we're going to use is the wild honey. Now you could just sit this aside and let it dry. And if you get something that's a little too bloopy, like right here, it's just kind of sitting. I don't want it to just sit like a big blob of water. So I'm going to turn it and let it run a little bit while I'm drying. There we go. I don't mind runs, but I don't want just big blobs of water. Now, one thing you'll notice is if I would have used gesso over the top, it probably would have run a little bit better because gesso gives it a little more tooth than the matte medium does. But I like the matte medium better. And it was the first thing I grabbed. And I like this. This is okay. All right, that's dry enough. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the, I'm using the wild honey. And this is really bright, so I'm not going to use as much. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spread it all the way across. Get my brush really wet. And just spread it around. And I'm going to have I've got my page in my book open for anything that's left. Let's clean our brush out. Put the wet brush over there. And I'm just going to bloop this down. And the next layer are going to be our stamps. Now, since this is a lot of words on here, or we could use our acrylic paints. So I'm just kind of smearing it. Deciding where I want some. I think I want some over here. I'm not getting... This is kind of bent, so let's pick it up. There we go. Now I'm getting it. Now the last thing I'll do is I'll go around the edges. I'm not getting this side here. There. Oh, that's better. Now anything that's left on here, we're going to put on our page. So let's get our page. See, this is flatter, so you can see a difference in the way it's picking up. See the difference in the way it picks up? It picks up a lot easier on something that's flat. Okay, so there's that one. So let's go on and wipe this down. Now, because this seems to be bending when it's dried, as I'm drying it today, I am going to put it, I'm going to turn it over and put some books on it so it'll dry a little bit flatter. Now, I think I want to add some of this red brick, except instead of putting it on here, now this is an ink, I'm going to have to, because it will just dry too fast. All right, so let's get this ink wet real quick. And let's add some red to this. And we can even stamp with this red. And once you get the inks wet, they do tend to lighten up quite a bit. And I don't even know if you can see it. It's really pale. But I think I'll use that to lighten things to stamp with. Okay. Now, my next color that I want to stamp with is my vintage photo. Or on top of is my vintage photo. I like this color on top. And I want to get it nice and wet. And I'm getting it nice and wet here. And again, I'm just going to pick it up and lay it down here. And it's really starting to bend now because it's really wet. But that's all right. I want some over there. I don't want this exactly the same as the other. I want it a little bit different. My styles have changed in 4.5 years, so I'm going to move that over there. I'm going to dry this off so I can bring the book in. And bring in our book page. Now this will give us a fun book page to work in. Ah, look how fun this is. When we get to this page, and I've got an idea in my head now that I see that. Okay, so I'm really liking this. It needs to dry. So I'm thinking the next thing I want to do on this is I'm thinking I might want to take some of this green, and it's just an alfalfa. It's called alfalfa, and it's a folk art paint, which is just an acrylic paint. And I want to take one of my brushes, and I want to add a little bit of paint to kind of take back a little bit of these book pages. So when we add our pictures, it's not just book page on top. Now I am going to turn this over and see if I can't get this to lay down a little bit. There we go. It's working a little bit. That's better. That's better. That's a little flatter. Okay, so I think I want to add a little bit of this green, or you could even use a mossy meadow. I mean, you can use any colors you want, but this is one of my favorite colors, so I think I want to use this. And I have out several, but I think I want to start with this one. And I want to put it around the bottom, and I also got out a Tuscan teal. Now I am going to water them down, and I'm going to add some Tuscan teal around the top. You all knew I was going to do that, didn't you? Now, which one of these did I already open? I guess I didn't open either of them. So let me tell you about my last 2 days where I was planning on being in my craft room, and it just did not work out. It has just been a crazy 2 days. So I always take the weekend to spend with family and, you know, do the fun family stuff. Well, on, I think it was Friday, Thursday or Friday, PJ decided he was going to be a mountain goat. And he climbed on the couch. And, you know, sitting next to the side of the couch is a little side table. It might even have been Wednesday. I don't know. And he decided to climb. Well, somebody was outside, I think walking a puppy or something. You all have heard him barking. And he slipped off of the side table in between the couch and the side table. And he ended up with all 4 legs up in the air like that. Well, we thought he broke his left front leg. He was limping. He didn't cry, you know, or anything like that. But he turned when I fussed at him, you know, and I've been telling him, get down, get down. But of course, you know, you all have heard me tell PJ that. He wouldn't do it, and he was determined. Now I'm just taking my brush, and I'm just going to get this a little wet so I can still kind of see it, but I've also still got color. And he was determined that those people out there were on his property, and by golly, he was protecting it. And he just kept going at it. Well, I noticed him limping, but he wouldn't let me check his foot. He kept pulling his foot away. Well, later on in the day, he started licking at that area. And he still wouldn't let me look at it. So I finally got him to be still enough that I could check it. And it didn't look broken, but he was still limping. So I said to my husband when he got home, I told him what he did. And of course, PJ, proved me out to be a liar. He hopped right up on Daddy's chair and he laid down and both legs scrunched up under him. And he wouldn't let either of us look at him. And Kenny said to me, well, he looks fine to me. And I just looked at him, with that, ugh. Kind of like when your kids tell you in the morning, Mommy, I don't feel good. I don't want to go to school. And then by the time Daddy gets home, they feel well enough to go out and play. So this went on for the whole weekend. He really is losing his balance. He's not doing very well. So I said to him, he has got to go to the vet. Well, I was in Thursday to pick up some stuff for Baxter, and I said to them, can you guys see PJ? No, I was in Wednesday, because we had a big festival over the weekend, and I was not going anywhere near that place over the weekend. And she said, well, I could squeeze you in on Thursday, and I said, no, I don't like the squeezing things because it is not a very good, not something that I'm really, something that I want to do. I don't think I like all that green down there. I think I'm going to wipe some of it off. So they said, well, how about Monday morning? I can do Monday morning. All right, let's wipe some of that green off while I can. I don't like all that. So we went Monday and they x-rayed it. And it's not broken, but because of his age, it is swollen pretty bad. And she said that's probably why he's limping. It's just really bothering him. But his liver is, this dog, I'm telling you what, you guys. But his liver enzymes are kind of a mess. But that's because of his seizure medicines. And so they put him on some anti-inflammatories. And said, try not to let him climb like that. And I said, you do realize he thinks he's a mountain goat. And they just kind of laughed at me. But so far, he's doing better on his anti-inflammatories. So, being 14 and the type of dog he is, we feel blessed that he's still with us at all. So, okay, I think I need a different color in there. I think I need... because that is starting to look kind of... yuck. How about... I don't think I'm going to like that. But maybe let's make some orange. So then yesterday, it was my turn. Yesterday, I went to the surgeon for my knee, and it's been a busy 2 days, you guys. And they said everything was well. Yay, yay. And I can start doing bicycle exercises. I can start doing, oh, that's a horrible color. I can start doing IT band exercises to help with my issue that I was having with my back, where it was pulling on my back. So I was thrilled about that. So I actually walked the most yesterday that I have walked so far. So I was really, really excited. Okay, it's time to get the fingers in there, you guys. It is time for fingers. Because I am just not happy with that. So let's get some fingers in there. Let's just start spreading it. And if I don't like it, Oh, there we go. Here we go. Rubbing it around my fingers. Oh, there. Now. That's better. That's better. Much better. Much better. Brighten it up. I know you all are going, that is just gross on your hands. But your hands are washable. You know, don't let getting paint on your hands stop you from doing something that you're having fun with. Your hands are washable. That's why we have wet wipes. That's why you have soap and water. Now see, look at the difference that made. I love that. Okay, so I don't need that. I do need to wash my hands though. So I'm going to take this paper towel and I'm going to grab my wet wipes so I can wash my hands. Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that little look. I didn't think I would like that color in there, but I really do. Now, that paper towel can go to the trash. But I really like that color. Now, before I can do anything else, this whole project needs to dry. Because if it doesn't, the more I put on it, the more it's going to start buckling. It's going to start having problems holding on to it. Now, what you can do, though, is you can start doing your doodles on it. You can pick the colors that you want, and you can start the doodles. Now, what I like to doodle with are just the ends of my paintbrush. I just take my paintbrush and make sure it's clean. And like this. And I just like to doodle with my paintbrushes. Now, you can also use other things. You know, to make your marks. Like that. Because your paint, this is all the paint level, and it has to dry. You can't do anything now until this dries. You can't add stamps. You can't add anything else like this until this paint level dries. So if you're going to add anything else, now's the time to do it. Because it has to dry. And this is what we call the ugly stage. So don't panic, okay? Don't panic. This is what's called the ugly stage. Everything starts looking a mess, as you can tell. Your hands are a mess. Your page is a mess. This is the ugly stage. You can start mixing your custom colors. You can start adding different things. I could make this, I could add more yellow to my paint and get a whole different color. And I'm probably going to bring in some gold. I'm adding more yellow right now. I can bring in some gold in a little bit. You can bring in some black. So here's more yellow in here. You can bring in blacks. You can bring in golds. You can bring in different blues if you want. So just keep adding until you're happy with this area. See, now it's a different shade of the same color that I did. And use your fingers. Have some fun. It's mixed media. You know, that's what it's supposed to be. And don't stay around the edges. Don't stay around those edges. Come into the middle. Okay, so remember your flower is going to be in the middle. So get out those things that you make marks with. Get out things that I'm looking for. Where did I put them? I got out all of my mark making tools. Where did they go? Well, I'll find them. Now's the time to make your marks. Your scraper tools. Here's one of them. You can use this. I love making marks with this. Oh, it's a little bit too small, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to use this. Get out your onion bags. Get out your, there. Okay, I like that. And if you think it's too dark, lighten it up. Get some water on it and go back over it. And if it's still too much, take your baby wipe and lighten it up. Because on that blue, it's a little dark. I just want a lighter shade of it. But see, then it takes off some of this. So I'm just going to take my baby wipe and I'm going to come in here. Now that's one of my marks. But I can still see the blue. And it doesn't matter about the background because everything's going to cover it up. And if I don't like that, I'm just going to come in with my fingers and I'm just going to rub it through here like that. Okay? All right, so you guys create your background like I did, and I might even add some of this yellow. Oh, I've got a brown too. I think I might add some browns. You guys create a background with me, and then in our next video, I've got to let mine dry. In our next video, we're going to start our stamping. We're going to start deciding where our flower is going to be. But everything on mine needs to dry before I can do anything else. And I'm going to continue with my mark making and with my acrylics. And then we'll go from there. So until I see you again in our next Ladybug Journal video, ta-ta for now.